Mr. DeCiccio?
Yes. At this time, if there's any residents who would like to speak, just to let the residents know, after this meeting is over, concludes, we did have two meetings set up. It's going to be an informational. We have ETC pipeline here for any question and answering for some of the residents that have concern on Ivy Lane. And also another informational with National Fuel. They're here for any question and answering. So if you're here for that, there will be two meetings after this. But you're welcome to speak on anything else if you want at this time. Any residents would like to speak before we continue? If you could just please state your name.
Yes, my name is John Peterson. I live over in Walnut Grove subdivision, right across the street from Gateway, Cottonwood Drive, and Buttonwood Drive. I'm basically here with three of my neighbors as well. I'm Nancy Morgan over here, as well as Bob Nico. The reason why we came out today is basically to discuss basically a sinkhole or a landslide that's going on in our subdivision. It basically started about a year ago. And it seems to be just the entire mountainside is just sliding down the hill and causing a great deal of damage over there. So far, it does not appear that it has affected the streets, which is the primary reason why it seems like, I guess, the municipality or DPW or something like that will come out and take a look at it. But obviously, it's causing quite a bit of other damage. For example, right now we have about a 3-4 foot wide sinkhole that's going up, starts in my property, goes up behind me, and it's almost like swallowing up the shed that belongs on the property of Bruce and Nancy Morgan. Nancy being here today, as I mentioned, and then goes up beyond there, and then is also causing two what do you call them? I guess
Just as fissures.
That is basically coming down on your property. But basically we have a number of basically brick walls that is on Bob's property that have now also collapsed as a result of this. As I said, this started about a year ago. It started basically with about a 2-inch wide opening, basically a sinkhole in the middle of the ground, and now it has actually spread to about 8 feet. The other day we did have Joey Papich come out and take a look at the property. He basically did conclude that there is excess storm water that is somehow getting underneath the ground, that's basically causing the entire mountainside to slide. And as I said, we've contacted a number of different people. We've contacted the EPA. Homeowners insurance does not cover landslides or sinkholes. We're basically almost at this point at our wit's end, and we didn't exactly know where else to go. We were basically going to ask if the township could, if nothing else, at least send out the engineer, the township engineer, to actually evaluate basically what's going on out there in Walnut Grove properties right now. As I said, all the homes back there have been built for about 20 years, and all of a sudden, starting about a year ago, we don't exactly know what happened, but starting about a year ago, just the entire mountainside began to slide and started causing all sorts of damage to decks, to foundations. It's not too much further where it can cause a foundation with my property, me being at the bottom of the hill. As I said, it's already starting to tear apart a shed that's back there. So the amount of damage is almost insurmountable as it stands now. So as I said, the main reason why I wanted to come out here and actually present our situation to the township is, as I said, if nothing else, to see if we can get approval to send the township engineer out to at least take a look and see if we can come up with better recommendations or maybe a reasoning as to what is causing the damage that we've seen so far.
Can I have your address for the minutes, please?
Sure. My address is 123 Cottonwood Drive.
And the others?
So my address is 121 Cottonwood Drive.
Mine is 119 Whitewood Drive.
Ned, would you be able to take a look, go out there and maybe assess out, see what's going on?
I'll have something to do by next meeting.
Okay. Our engineer, John, he'll go out and check it out, and I have your number, so I could call you if I hear something, or we'll get back with you with either way.
Sure. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, if I can just say a couple things. I'm Bob Nico. The problem seems to appear to start kind of above our properties. There's two properties that come together. There's a swale that forms there, and it looks like that swale goes into a ground drain. And the ground drain runs behind our properties out to Whitewood. It runs parallel with Miss Morgan's and behind ours out to the road. It seems up there that that's where the water starts. There's big fissures in the ground up there. There's a fissure that runs right under her shed, runs to the top of my backyard. I have a pine tree that's kind of getting swallowed up by this crevice, and then leads into his yard. And our biggest issue is, until whatever the problem is gets solved, we can't even begin to repair our yards.
Exactly.
That's my biggest issue. I have 2 block walls that are both broken now. I mean, they've collapsed. Because, 2 retaining walls that have collapsed because of the ground shift. And this started last March. This has been 12 months now. We have not been able to get anyone to really come out and give us any kind of resolution. I mean, it seems pretty simple to me that if someone were to even come out and put a scope down that storm drain, just to see if there's a leak in it somewhere where groundwater's getting out of it, might be a simple place to start.
I'd like to say something, if you don't mind. I'm
Sure.
Nancy Morgan is my name. After the time that this stuff started happening, well, it was probably maybe, I don't know, 2-3 months or so, whenever you started getting the cracks in your yard. We had a neighbor that was, would be two lots down from where you live, that deforested their whole lot behind them. So they took up all their trees and they cut into their backyard, trying to basically like stack their backyard. So I think whatever water that was coming down off that hill used to be, you know, they used to have the trees there and the tree roots there that were able to basically suck up this water, I think. And in front of that house now, it's total water all the time. The water actually goes across the street to another house across the street. It's constantly wet. Everything's soaked there, so I think that might be a little bit of an issue as well.
What's the house number there, do you know?
I do not know. That would be,
21,
it would be not the one right beside you, it would be the one beside that.
2 doors up from me.
Yeah, it would be yours,
And,
then this
117.
person, then the
So
person that,
probably,
then the
117.
person that totally took off all the stuff on their land. So
Would
they
be
really-
117?
117, Cottonwood.
I wouldn't know that, I don't know that would be the right one for sure, but certainly, you know, like John said, we've lived there for 20 years, we've never had any water problems, we've never had any issues. Now all our backyards are soaked, and
Would you guys like to see any photos?
We do have the.
I would like to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about, and as Bob had also mentioned, the situation, we're kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place right now because, I mean, as it stands, you know, I'm looking at about $12,000 worth of damage in my backyard, probably more so even for him. But we can't even begin to even fix any of this until we basically know what the problem is. And I think that's basically why we're kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place. I would love to put the money to have an estimator come up there and just completely level out my backyard and take care of this. But of course, I'm in a position where I cannot even begin to do that. Because as soon as I do that, it's gonna be throwing $10,000 down the drain, because as soon as I do it, it's gonna start back over again. So until we're able to actually resolve the issue,
You can see
we
there's a
gotta,
big
we
roll.
gotta do just.
That's 2 feet high.
I guess she has pictures as
Yeah,
well.
there's my wall collapsing down there, I got a wall up there to collapse.
I'll just show you from today. This is, I was walking today,
You can
and
see
this
this
is in
is
front of the
encroaching
house.
on my deck now.
This,
My
it just,
concrete patio,
this
so now it's
water
right up
just-
on my concrete
There's
patio.
nowhere for the water to go. It just comes out on this street from this property, which this is the property that enforced it or their law.
Same time they did the roads in there too. They did the roads.
Is it okay if you scrolling?
Yeah,
Okay.
hit the video.
I have lots of
That's up
pictures.
above my property. That's Nancy's shed. It's shifted about 2.5 feet now. She's got a fissure right underneath it. So her shed's gonna collapse. See, that's my pine tree. Let's give you a see a second. Here, look next one. See how high that is now. My pine tree's getting swallowed up in that crack. And then it goes over to John's yard, and there's a giant kind of little white crevice there. That's right along with the front where the pond is, too. The pond runs over, and this is a top
We tried that, we went to council, they didn't know.
Definitely come back and go out and check it out.
Yes. The whole thing's around caved in. So, and we've been trying.
So watch that step behind you, I don't you
Yeah.
fall back.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It almost didn't see
Well,
it.
it's happened numerous times.
Yeah, we'll have it. Yeah, I went to it.
I hear that.
You're welcome. Be careful.
Is that all you had, John?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
about it. As I was mentioning, while Bob was showing me the pictures, that I was explaining that, as I said, we're kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place because we can't just put, as I said, it's probably, I'm probably looking at $12,000 easy damage in my backyard, probably more so for his two retaining walls,
Yeah.
so forth and so on. But I can't put that money into my backyard without resolving the problem, because as soon as I do, that's throwing $10,000 down the toilet, because it's simply
Yeah.
gonna happen again. Right, so, I'm kinda stuck, I gotta basically sit there with, their shed being half swallowed up, his two retaining walls broken, my huge mound and an 8-foot hole, 8-foot wide sinkhole in the back of my
That's-
yard.
yeah,
I
that's-
said, we're basically just stuck, we simply cannot move forward at this point.
We can see if maybe we can help, like I said, and that'll come out. And when do you think it'll be out? In a couple of weeks or
I'll have something for you before the next.
before the next meeting? Okay, he'll definitely be out.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank
All right.
you,
You
thank
have
All right.
you, thank you.
His number.
Yeah, I have John. Okay, I have John.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
Lisa has your number, Bob. I have John, so
All right, thank you.
we'll get in touch with you. All right. Any other residents would like to speak? Good, sir.
That's kind of a tough act to follow. Hope we get that resolved. My name's Larry Kubek. This is my first meeting,
Okay,
and I became a resident 1977, so that's about 42 years by my calendar, and I guess I'm a little overdue. But I really just wanted to say that in 42 years, I sure saw a difference in Center Township. And I wanted to thank past and present supervisors that was all responsible for it, because this is a place that to live, to go to school. My daughter got an excellent education here, to shop, and now for me and the wife to retire. And I just really wanted to say thank you to everybody
thank you.
for
We appreciate that.
making it possible.
You
Thank
could
you.
follow, that was a better act anyway.
Thank you. That was nice that you came out.
Thanks a bunch.
Anyone else before we move on? Okay. Wanted to approve the minutes, February 19th, 2019, public hearing. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Yes. February 19th, 2019, regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Yes. March 9th, 2019, work session.
Motion.
Second.
Yes. March 11, 2019, our special meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Yes. Engineer report, Mr. Mitrovich.
Okay, the 2019 road program, we're just filing out some details with Supervisor George and Mr. Harper, and we should be getting bids probably, we can expect next week, probably by the following. So, sometime in April, we'll open those bids for the road program. We did get correspondence and a resolution from PennDOT when they evaluated the intersection of Broadhead Road, SR 3007, and Center Grange, SR 3012. It did meet the warrants for a signal. So what they're asking is the board pass, it's a standard resolution from PennDOT for them to proceed with the necessary detailed traffic studies and the other items required to progress that signal forward. Their schedule is, as of this writing was, in 2020, they're going to repave and reconstruct portions of Broadhead Road from the Hopewell Moon Township line to the work that was completed associated with the Shell project at Frankfurt Road and Broadhead. So that would be the scope of the 2022 road program that PennDOT's going to do on Broadhead. But one of the items that will be included will be this traffic signal. So the traffic signal would be a cost to the township, as we previously discussed. However, all the work associated with the engineering and things of that nature, PennDOT will roll into their project.
It's been a long time since we've tried to get a light there.
It's been
Just glad. It's
many
been
many
years.
attempts to get a light there, and at this point, it meets the warrants for it to be done. So they'll do the studies required to construct that signal.
So we need to pass a resolution.
Yes, you would need to pass, you need to pass the resolution.
And they take care of all the studies, you said, correct? They'll take care of
Yeah,
it.
they've already
They approved it.
done the studies to determine if the warrants are required. That's
Okay.
the first obstacle to
Oh, I
check
thought,
to
okay,
get
I
through.
thought there was more studies. that
Typically, you
needed
would
done.
do it, have a consultant do it, submit it, they determine whether or not it meets the warrants, that comes back. This was part of, since we attended that pre-application meeting with them, and we indicated our concern. We're also looking at the center turn lanes where they could possibly fit. So there's no guarantee at this point that center turn lanes will be installed, however, it's still being evaluated. So that's not out of the question, they just haven't completed all the work, because those were the two items that were brought up. The intersection of Center Grange, another intersection, I believe, as well as the turn lane from Pleasant to Frankfurt Road. So I would just need a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Yes.
So Ned, is the resolution to proceed with the necessary detailed traffic study?
The resolution is to proceed with, it's basically the township's commitment to the responsibility for cost of the signal. So you have the cost of the signal installation, and then as with all signals, they become your responsibility for maintenance. But this would be a new signal, as with the upgrades we're seeing on Route 18, even though the intersection at Kings is in default mode right now, it's going to be upgraded as soon as weather breaks. It's a new technology. And the last item I have is the Highland Meadows subdivision. The bond has been posted for this work. As necessary prior recording of the subdivision, and the subdivision was reviewed and it's in order. So if the board concurs, the motion would be in order to approve the Highland Meadows subdivision, which was also approved by the planning commission.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Yes. Oh, you have it.
That's all.
Okay, move on to solicitor's report, Mr. York.
The first item for the board's consideration would be a motion to adopt Resolution 7-2019, which would be a resolution of the township approving the transfer of the restaurant liquor license 18348 into Center Township from Pulaski Township. This relates to the public hearing we had this evening. Again, this is just the approval of the transfer, giving our okay as it doesn't violate any health, safety, or welfare concerns. Keeping in mind that this process still involves the get-go getting approval from the LCB for the transfer of that license. This is just a step in the process that they have to go through. This is in line with the way that we've handled these matters in the past with regard to liquor license transfers. With that being said, we just entertain a motion from the board to adopt that resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Yes. Is that all you have, Nick?
The other item, actually, will not need an executive for, but just to bring up, if you recall, we did the filed a taking for the Mall Loop Road. It's at a posture right now where we have to have a final plan recorded that identifies the where that road is. Essentially, there were some issues with some setbacks and whatnot, but in any event, we would just need the board's authorization to allow the chairman to sign the plans whenever they come in. We just need to give them the okay to send those over. So that will finalize that case.
Make that motion.
Second.
Yes.
The other item for consideration would be, and given the time frame and given the agenda items, we didn't get to put it on there, but the other resolution here would be for the board to approve the agreement that we've reached with National Fuel with regard to the portion of their project that deals with the township rights of way, essentially. The agreement sets forth provisions that detail permitting, basically addresses the grading ordinance, the road opening ordinance, and some other technical aspects that I'm sure Ned could probably comment on. We've thoroughly reviewed this agreement for form and substance, and it comports with what I think the engineer and I would recommend in terms of how it sets forth the obligations of both of both parties. And again, just to restate that this doesn't approve necessarily of anything that's done on private property. This just pertains to any activity that is going to take place on township rights of way. So, you have anything else to add, Ned?
No, the items are all, as Nick said, fundamentally regarding to road opening permits, driveway opening permits, ENS controls, things that we typically would do with a developer. Anything that's relative to the actual pipeline construction itself, this document doesn't speak to because they're regulated by FERC and they have outside standards which control the construction of the pipeline. So this is more for earth disturbance, restoration, and then we have in there to address complaints and things of that nature, as well as the posting of haul routes which are on over it, which do include some township roadways, which they would exceed the limit on those roadways if they post a bond for repair and damage. So again, it's the applicable ordinances that are necessary for a land development, so to speak.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Is that all you have, Nick? Okay. Under old business, Mr. George asked if we could table these two until he's here for our next meeting. Committee report. Doc, you have anything?
No, sir.
I do.
Lisa?
We had mother-son bowling this past weekend. It was attended by 125 people, went very well. Next event that Center Recreation has coming up is the Easter egg hunt on April the 13th at 1 o'clock at the high school. And then the next big one for all you dog lovers, we are opening a dog park April 13th. It was done by 2 high school students as a senior project. And that is April the 13th as well at 12:30.
12:30 is the dog park.
The dog park, yeah.
That's all you got, Lisa?
That's it, thank you.
Chief Kramer, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Mr. Vesio?
No.
Mr. Blanco?
No.
New business, approve the list of bills for payment.
Motion.
Second.
Yes. Approve the treasurer's report.
Motion.
Second.
Yes. Before I adjourn, as I stated earlier, we have 2 informational meetings with ETC and National Fuel following this meeting. Whoever would like to stick around for that. National Fuel's first, is that correct? National Fuel's first, and then ETC will be the one following. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming, everyone.